Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So today, Tuesday, let's see what happened around here. If I can squeeze through here. Again, it's lucky, we're pretty thin guys here. So more progress on the unbelievably gorgeous, sparkly red Manx buggy here. It's original 68 body. So today the bumper cage went on. It's pretty much just on there like mocked up now. We still have to drill holes, but this is pretty much where it's going to go, and it looks really nice. The spacing to the muffler looks really nice, and everything else. And then Rafa started kind of figuring out also the skid plate mounting. This car had a skid plate on it back in the day, and it's going to have one on it now. So we cleaned that all up and powder coated it back when we did the rear bumper cage. The skid plate itself and the bumper cage both had just like oodles and oodles of extra holes in them. So long before before at least we took those and powder coated them, welded up, I don't know, probably a few dozen holes on between these two pieces here, so that we would be starting from scratch as far as, drilling holes for mounting it to the car, and then also mounting the skid plate to the bumper cage itself. So those are pretty much new as far as like not having any holes. So we can choose where we want everything to go and then drill holes accordingly. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of on there being test fit right now. A few other things. Rafa only worked about half a day on this car today. So the fuel line is on from the chassis up to the fuel pump. We didn't want to put this one on yet because we were not quite done with this carb spacer yet, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's see. I think Rafa adjusted the clutch while he was under there routing that fuel line, some little stuff like that. So the other thing he did today, which don't know where it is, but he made the spacer to go between the air box and the body. The air box is actually off at powder coating now, so you'll see that when it comes back. It's going to be the same semi-gloss black that we use on engine tins and stuff like that, so gonna look killer. As far as that spacer is concerned, I did actually machine it down, so we figured out how high it needed to be and then kind of set it at that minimum to clear the alternator and stuff here. I mean, we left ourselves a little wiggle room. It could have been a little bit lower, but it looks better because this thing was really tall. I chopped about more than half of its height out of it. The carburetor would have been sitting way up here, which is just doesn't make any sense at all. So pretty much took a bunch of measurements, and then I have a mill and a lathe at home in my workshop there. So I took this home and machined it down to the height that we wanted it, which was 480. Anyway, got within a few thou of that. And then the other thing was these weird studs that it uses that are female on one end and male on the other. So I chopped those down on my lathe. I think I took about a 1/4 inch off like this. I can show with one hand. I took about a 1/4 inch off this part right here to shorten those, because those, you can see how they kind of go through there. If those were too long, then the whole thing would just sit above the spacer. So cut those down, and then I had to basically make a couple of short studs that screw into these and then also into the carburetor. So those studs ended up like less than 3/4 of an inch long to get those the right length. So yeah, lots of cutting and machining and stuff like that, turning on the lathe to get all this stuff to work right. But now it's gonna looks kind of, can't even talk. It's gonna look great in there, much better than with this tall stupid thing. Like I said, it's like over an inch tall, I think, or maybe it was an inch, but anyway, yeah, we took more than half of that out. And so that's pretty much done now, ready to be bolted up. And so now that that's bolted up, now we can route this fuel line here. And then also the owner brought by some tubes that are the correct diameter for the carburetor which luckily is also the correct diameter for that air cleaner. And he brought over a couple tubes that have like I think 45-degree fitting or bends in them, and then like a sleeve where you can put two of them together, kind of like a butt joint type sleeve that'll look clean. So now that we know exactly where this is going to sit, once the air cleaner comes back from powder coating, then we can figure out this tube that's going to connect those two. Anyway, that was way too long-winded. Sorry about that. But anyway, that's one of the last major things on here as far as getting this all together. So the bus, our painter finished up the door here. He actually sprayed it yesterday, and then today he color sanded it and buffed it. There was a flaw in the paint over here that we took care of. You can't tell, which is how we like it. And then put the door handle back on. I think that we found the issue with the fuel gauge. I mentioned when this car came in that it was reading full, but it was empty. The owner ran out of gas. The other shop that built the motor came over to check out why the car died, and he thought it was the fuel pump, replaced the fuel pump. Turned out it was just out of gas. So and as it turns out, these reproduction, aftermarket, whatever you want to call them, fuel gauges, they need a separate ground for the gauge part itself. A stock one actually just grounds on the body where it mounts up underneath there, but on these, and so we didn't have it hooked up because I guess we were thinking about original gauges. We didn't have it grounded, and so when it's not grounded, it reads full. And so we went ahead and grounded it, and it went to pretty much went to empty, which was a good sign because the car probably only had like half a gallon of gas in it, if that. I added a few more gallons, and the gauge did go up some. It didn't go up to a quarter tank, but it went up maybe to like an eighth of a tank. So I think tomorrow I'm going to take this car and probably top off the gas tank, and then we'll see what this gauge does. But I think we're out of the woods as far as not having to pull the tank to change the sender, because on a bus, those of you that don't know, to pull the fuel tank, you have to literally pull out the motor to get the fuel tank out. It's kind of a bad design in some way, I guess. You'd think they could have put an access cover on basically the floor area back here so that you could get to that sender, but they didn't. So hopefully it's not the sender. Pretty sure that when we fill this thing up, it's going to read accurately, and we'll be through that. But anyway, so tomorrow what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and yank off all of his rotors, his brake rotors, and then we're going to take those and put have a machined new surface on them, fresh surface. And then in that box right there is a set of new brake pads. So I'm suspecting that his brake pads got glazed, and that's why the bus doesn't really stop that well. So we're not messing around. We're just going to basically put a new surface on the rotors, put in some new pads, and then I'll take the bus out here and do a proper break-in on them, get them good and hot, and transfer material like you're supposed to from the pad to the rotors, and then I think he's gonna have bitchin' brakes. So gonna do that tomorrow. So that's that bus. This guy didn't get any love today, but the other red bug did. So today I kind of continued what I was doing yesterday. So yesterday I pulled out his whole rear suspension, transmission, everything. Got the whole back of the car all stripped out here, ready for undercoating, all up underneath there. Took out his suspension, all that good stuff. So today I kind of did the same thing on the front of the car. So dismantled his front beam and removed it, pulled his brakes all apart, backing plates off, all that stuff, and then took his beam with the trailing arms, torsion arms, whatever you want to call them, took that over for sandblasting, cleaned his steering box up a little, took it also over for sandblasting, and then in the coming days I'll start cleaning his backing plates and spindles and all that kind of stuff, and we'll see about getting some powder coating and painting going on that stuff. And then hopefully we'll do the undercoating on this. If not this week, then maybe next week. We'll see. We had some things kind of come up. But yeah, soon this car will be undercoated, and then it can start going together for real. The doors and pretty much everything else for this car got painted today. So the paint is done now on this car, and it's all looking really good. The whole car still needs a cut and buff, but the paint job is looking really nice. We're really happy with it. And then once the undercoating goes on, then it's ready to start pulling a wiring harness and start some assembly here. So that's kind of exciting. So I believe that's it for today. Poor Jacob, still not feeling well, so hope he recovers soon. And so that's it for today, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for all the likes, the comments, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.